Mike Cernovich, your coastal elites conversation yesterday was pretty lame. You really need to think about and refine your positions better. Hint, the term coastal elites is a derogatory label applied by the right, and you guys are just buying into it uncritically. Next, you'll be talking about how real Americans... I agree.
No, I don't totally agree. It just because a term is used by the right in a disingenuous and stupid way.
What do we
doesn't
mean by
it,
coastal elites?
It's a real
we already
phenomenon.
went through this.
But I mean, are we coastal elites?
As you define it, yeah.
Well, I was just accepting it because that was the context of the thing. But I don't. I mean, I don't. Obviously,
Look, I buy making a sharp distinction between economic and cultural ones, and economic is infinitely more important. But in this terrain, we probably would fit that criteria. And all we're saying, it's like so easy, is don't unnecessarily insult and alienate people, especially in ways that has class overlap.
Enough.
That's it.
Would you say the same about wealthy Republicans in the suburbs who were a much bigger factor than the demographic of, let's say, Sarah Palin white trash? I'm not using that term. I'm just saying in the context of that conversation. But much bigger factor in the win in Alabama.
What do you mean? I don't know.
In other words, the argument is don't be sensitive to those things, which I am. This is the argument. Because there's no point in alienating potential votes. Maybe we'll just get marginal returns on that. But we wouldn't say the same thing about Paul Ryan Republicans who probably, I mean, you have black women and Republican suburban women and men made the difference in Alabama. That's just the fact in terms of data. But we wouldn't be like all precious about, not criticizing those people in those suburbs.
I don't think we're precious about not criticizing anybody.
All right, forget
I think we're
precious.
just specifically
would you apply the same set, the same
there
perspective?
Isn't even like a discourse. There isn't even like a handy word for like, a way of calling like affluent suburban white people dumb people with like bad teeth. Like, I don't even see the analogy. Like, I think when it comes actually to a chunk of those voters that actually vote Republican, I would consider those people to essentially just be my like political and class enemies. And I think we rip into them all the time. But actually, I will say more broadly, I think that even in areas that I agree with, there's tons of shorthand language that people on the left use. Like even certain like white male privilege discourse, which at times I think is actually totally stupid and inappropriate and counterproductive. So in general, I'm sort of allergic, but I think specifically all we're saying, and please jump in too, Jamie, is like that kind of like, oh, people in the Rust Belt are dumb, or Missouri and education oxymoron. It's just a bad look. Yeah. I don't understand why it's so complicated.
No, I get that. I'm just saying that the argument was that, you don't want to alienate these people because of voting. And really, I mean, people could make the same argument about you don't want to alienate rich Republicans in the suburbs, college educated.
I mean, I think the justification that a lot of say coastal elite liberals use for dumping on these people as being white trash or whatever is, oh, these people hold bigoted views, fuck these people. And while that may be true, I think the more that people of our ilk dump on these poor white people for their bad teeth or marrying their cousins or like all sorts of gross stereotypes, these people begin to tie anti-racism and anti-sexism to this kind of snotty bourgeois morality in their minds, and it undermines the very important work that we're doing.
All right, fair enough. I will also say that Christine Todd Whitman said that the reason why Republicans don't buy into global warming is because liberals throw it in their face. So.
Dude, we can do all things at once.
I understand. I'm just,
I agree.
I am just putting an argument out there. So, that's all I'm saying. Obviously, I don't.
Let me make it a little bit more concrete. I spoke to a person after the election who really would be like the total stereotype of, frankly, a very uninformed but thinks they're deeply informed, like affluent New York sort of quote unquote liberal voter, centrist voter. And she was like, well, the problem is that Hillary and Obama were just way too honest with these people that there's no place for them in the economy. So do you think we need to figure out a better way to lie to people in these states? Because they just don't get it and they're bigots. I mean, it's literally, like, I'm paraphrasing, but that's like literally what she said. And so it's not only is that like, again, a bad look. There's a policy
This is a widespread viewpoint.
That's a wide. If you go in neoliberal circles, you're saying it's like an aberration. I don't think it's an aberration at all.
No. I grew up in West Hartford, Connecticut. All right. I went to private school. I know how these people talk. I know how these people think. I know how they talk behind closed doors. Right. And it's not great.
And by the way, when it's with Black or Hispanic people, it's actually the same thing in substance. It's just paternalistic, like weird condescending racism versus overt hostility. Like, it reflects a much broader problem. And I don't think it's like the spirit of true, true progressivisve, even if you want to take it real left. Like, it's just not solidarity.
They don't fit into their worldview.
I think broadly speaking, being nice is better than being mean.
I also have a theory that rich white liberals hate poor white people because they show that there's something more than racism that's holding people back in this country. Their failure to thrive. They want to blame it on the lower classes so that they don't have to blame it on capitalism.
Well, and also I think their general disdain of lower classes across the racial map, it's like comfortable to be like, oh, well, obviously we can talk about white trash that way, but of course we can't talk about, all these other categories of people that are, systemically held down by the economy. And I don't think it's just a question of being nice. I think sometimes, like in the person's case that I'm referencing, there's substance there. She's an advocate of she's a TPP's good and these idiots don't get it. And maybe it's bad for them, but who cares? They're irrelevant. It speaks to a certain attitude, which has real power. Because it's associated with money.
I mean, all right.
Like, I've read entire articles written by centrists, whether they're center left or center right, saying that entire communities of people need to die out or just pack up and move and, go be Uber drivers somewhere. So I understand why people are a bit sensitive about it, and it takes nothing away from us to not do that.
Hi, folks. Sam Seder here. We still need your help on our Patreon page. YouTube ads have come back, but not nearly as much as we had before. So if you can help us out, any little bit helps. Head over to our Patreon page right at this URL, and you'll help us keep helping you by making videos